Before you take your next bite of that healthy food you've been eating every single day, stop, because the very thing you believe is nourishing your body may be the exact thing tearing holes in your gut lining. And the worst part is you don't feel it happening, not today, not tomorrow, but inside you, inflammation is building quietly, relentlessly. And if you don't remove this one daily ingredient, your gut will never get the chance to heal. The daily culprit you trust is the one food you've been trained your whole life to believe is harmless, even beneficial, yet it's quietly launching an assault on your gut every single time it passes your lips. People assume gut damage comes from fast food, sugar bombs, or processed snacks, but the truth is far more unsettling. The real danger isn't the food you already mistrust. It's the food you consume with confidence. The one that sits in your kitchen right now, the one you use in recipes every week, the one you hand to your family without hesitation. This food hides behind labels that promise heart-healthy, wholesome, natural, or nutritious. But inside, it contains plant defense compounds that plants evolved over millions of years specifically to discourage predators like us. These compounds don't care about modern marketing. They don't care about dietary guidelines. They only care about survival. And your gut lining is paying the price. You don't feel the damage immediately because the irritation isn't the kind that stabs or burns. It's quiet, subtle, microscopic. But with every bite, your gut wall takes another hit. The delicate barrier meant to keep harmful particles out is battered by proteins your body was never meant to digest easily. Over time, these proteins cling to the gut lining, disrupt communication between cells, and trigger an inflammatory response that becomes so constant, so familiar, that people mistake it for normal life. That mid-afternoon crash, that inexplicable bloating, that foggy mind, that stubborn weight around the middle that won't let go. These aren't random inconveniences. They're signals. Your gut is trying to get your attention. The dangerous part is that this food is consumed daily, not occasionally, not accidentally, daily, every morning on toast or in cereals, every lunch in salads, wraps, bowls, or quick snacks, every dinner mixed into soups, sides, sauces, or healthy meals. It's everywhere. And because you eat it so often, your gut never gets a single day off. Imagine trying to heal a cut on your hand while scraping it with sandpaper at every meal. It wouldn't matter how many bandages you use, it would never heal. And this is exactly what happens in your digestive system when you continue eating the culprit food. The damage continues, the inflammation continues, the cycle never ends. Most people defend this food passionately because they believe it's essential, the backbone of a healthy diet. They grew up eating it, they see commercials praising it, they hear nutrition experts tell them it's the foundation of good health. But if that were true, why are so many people struggling with gut issues, fatigue, autoimmune flares, and metabolic frustration? Why do so many feel worse after meals instead of better? Why do so many rely on antacids, digestive aids, and energy boosters just to get through the day? The answer becomes clear when you remove this food and the symptoms begin to fade as though a switch was flipped. This daily culprit isn't toxic in the dramatic sense. It's toxic in the slow, persistent, invisible sense. It doesn't make you sick immediately, it makes you inflamed consistently. And inflammation doesn't scream at you, it whispers. It hides behind symptoms you can rationalize. It chips away at your gut lining until the barrier weakens, becomes leaky, and allows particles into your bloodstream that were never meant to cross. This triggers your immune system to attack with all its strength, not just once, but every time you eat the food. Your body ends up fighting a battle it can never win because the invader keeps arriving 3 times a day. And yet, the moment you remove it, truly remove it, your gut begins a transformation people often describe as life-changing. The bloating eases, the energy rises, the clarity returns, the inflammation calms, the gut finally breathes. Healing begins not because you added something special, but because you finally stopped consuming the food that was quietly destroying your gut every single day. The biochemical sabotage happening inside your gut each time you eat this food begins long before you ever feel a symptom. Most people believe digestion is a simple mechanical process. Eat food, break it down, absorb nutrients, move on. But the truth is far more complex. Every bite you take sends information to your gut. It tells your immune system whether what you just ate is friend or foe. And this particular food, the one people eat daily without hesitation, carries plant defense proteins that your gut instantly recognizes as a threat. These proteins aren't passive. They have a biological mission written into their very structure to protect the plant from being eaten. They bind, they latch, they interfere, they sabotage. And the first target they hit is your gut lining, the thin, delicate barrier that keeps your internal world safe from the outside world. These plant defense compounds don't break down easily. Your stomach acid can't fully neutralize them. Your digestive enzymes can't fully dismantle them. So they arrive in your intestines still active, still armed, still ready to defend the plant they came from. When they reach the gut wall, they attach to the carbohydrate structures on the surface of intestinal cells. These cells are supposed to stay tightly aligned, forming a seamless barrier that prevents unwanted particles from leaking through. But the binding of these plant proteins disrupts this tight structure. It confuses the receptors, it alters the communication between cells, and suddenly the gut lining becomes less of a fortress and more of a porous gate. Your immune system senses this almost immediately. It sees these proteins interacting with your gut cells and interprets the situation as a threat. So it launches an inflammatory response, not to punish you, but to protect you. Inflammation is the body's emergency alarm system. It's supposed to activate briefly and shut off once the threat is gone. But when this harmful food shows up day after day, meal after meal, the alarm never stops ringing. And an alarm that never turns off becomes background noise you no longer notice, though your body notices it constantly. This is when the sabotage becomes chronic, silent, invisible, but deeply destructive. The inflammation triggered by these plant defense compounds doesn't just stay in the gut. It begins affecting your entire body. The immune system becomes tired from constant activation. The gut lining's permeability increases, allowing more particles than ever before to slip through. These particles include broken food proteins, bacterial fragments, and toxins the gut was supposed to keep out. Once they enter the bloodstream, your immune system goes on high alert, treating each new arrival as an invader. This systemic inflammation is what leads to symptoms most people never connect to their gut: brain fog, joint aches, low energy, mood swings, trouble losing weight, skin flare-ups. They all begin with the same biochemical sabotage happening at the gut level. Meanwhile, the bacteria living in your intestines, the microbiome, are also affected. The harmful plant compounds disrupt their balance, feeding strains that cause inflammation while starving the beneficial ones responsible for producing gut-healing nutrients. As these good bacteria decline, the gut lining becomes even more vulnerable, and the sabotage intensifies. This is why so many people feel trapped in a cycle of digestive issues. They're not imagining it. Their gut is under attack, and the attacker is disguised as a daily innocent food. What makes this process even more dangerous is how subtle it is. You won't feel the binding of plant proteins. You won't feel the loosening of gut junctions. You won't feel the slow leak of particles slipping into places they don't belong. You'll feel the symptoms days, weeks, or months later, long after the real damage has already begun. Most people blame stress or age or bad luck, never realizing their gut has been fighting a biochemical war 3 times a day. But the moment this food is removed, the sabotage slows, the binding stops, the inflammation calms, the gut lining begins repairing the microscopic tears. The microbiome starts returning to balance. The symptoms that once felt normal start to fade, because healing isn't magic. Healing is simply what happens when the sabotage finally ends. The hidden symptoms that reveal your gut is under attack rarely show up where you expect them to. Most people imagine gut problems as bloating, gas, or stomach cramps. But the truth is that the most dangerous signs don't show up in your stomach at all. They appear quietly, subtly, in places you would never connect to the food you're eating daily. And that is exactly why this destructive process goes unnoticed for years. The gut lining weakens slowly, the inflammation builds gradually, and the symptoms accumulate silently until one day you wake up feeling older, heavier, foggier, and more fatigued than you ever remember being. But the root cause isn't aging. It isn't stress. It isn't just your body changing. It's the slow erosion of your gut's protective barrier by a food you thought was harmless. One of the earliest signs is fatigue that doesn't make sense. The kind of tiredness you can't sleep off. You wake up feeling like you never rested. Your energy crashes in the afternoon. Your brain feels sluggish, as if someone dimmed the lights in your mind. This is what happens when inflammatory molecules seep through a weakened gut lining and circulate through your bloodstream. They interfere with your mitochondria, the tiny engines that generate energy. When they're inflamed, they produce less fuel, leaving you drained from the inside out. You may think you're just tired from work or daily life, but in reality, your cells are begging for relief from the constant inflammation leaking out of your gut. Another sign people ignore is skin trouble. Acne, eczema, rashes, redness, or bumps that come and go for no obvious reason. Your skin is one of the first places inflammation appears because it's one of the body's primary exit routes for toxins. When your gut can't filter properly, when the barrier is compromised, those same inflammatory particles that should have stayed inside your digestive tract now have access to your bloodstream. And your immune system reacts, not just internally, but on your skin. Dermatologists treat the surface, but the real issue often sits deep within the gut. Joint pain is another overlooked symptom. People assume their knees or fingers hurt because they're aging or overusing them. But inflammation caused by gut permeability can settle into the joints and cause tenderness, stiffness, and swelling. It feels mechanical, like a physical injury, but its origins are biochemical. Remove the gut trigger, and the aging pain they blamed for years suddenly starts to disappear. The gut and the joints are more connected than most people think, and when the gut is under attack, the joints are often the first to complain. Cravings are another hidden sign, especially cravings for sugar and carbs. When harmful plant compounds damage the gut lining, they also disrupt the microbiome. The beneficial bacteria struggle to survive, while the inflammatory, sugar-loving strains thrive. These microbes send signals through the gut-brain axis demanding more sugar to feed themselves. So when you feel an uncontrollable urge to reach for something sweet, it may not even be you asking. It's the result of microbial imbalance caused by daily exposure to that destructive food. People blame willpower, but it's biology. Mood changes are just as revealing. Anxiety, irritability, mood swings, even mild depression can trace back to a damaged gut. The gut produces most of the serotonin in your body, the neurotransmitter responsible for regulating mood and emotional balance. When the gut lining is inflamed, serotonin production drops. The signals between the gut and the brain become distorted. You feel off, unsettled, unlike yourself, but you can't pinpoint why. And because the shift is gradual, you adapt to feeling not quite right, never realizing your gut is quietly influencing your emotions. Weight gain is another clue, especially weight that becomes harder and harder to lose. Chronic gut inflammation signals your body to store fat, not burn it. Your metabolism slows. Your hunger hormones get confused. You may feel hungry constantly, or in some cases, barely hungry at all. Your body is trying to protect itself by holding on to resources, because the immune system is in constant fight mode. No diet or gym routine can override an inflamed gut that's been weakened day after day by the same harmful food. Even headaches and brain fog are signs. When inflammatory compounds slip past the gut barrier, they can cross the blood-brain barrier and interfere with cognitive function. You misplace things. You forget what you were about to say. You struggle to focus on tasks that used to feel effortless. This isn't a mental problem. It's a gut problem manifesting in your brain. And perhaps the most deceptive sign of all is that you start believing these symptoms are normal. You adapt, you cope, you explain them away. But your body has been whispering the truth, your gut is under attack, and the symptoms you're experiencing are not random. They are warnings, they are signals, they are the consequences of a food you've been eating every day without realizing the damage it's causing underneath the surface. The moment you remove the daily offender that's been assaulting your gut lining, a quiet shift begins inside your body, even if you can't feel it immediately. The inflammation that was constantly buzzing beneath the surface starts to fade. The immune system takes a breath it hasn't taken in years. But healing doesn't happen automatically. Your gut needs support, direction, and the right environment to rebuild what has been damaged. This is where one strategic swap becomes the turning point. For most people, the damage came from the same type of food eaten repeatedly, often believed to be healthy or at least harmless. Once it's gone, the gut needs something that doesn't just fill the gap, but actively encourages repair. And the first step is to replace the harmful plant defense compounds with foods naturally rich in polyphenols, fiber, and gut-friendly fats that soothe the intestinal lining instead of attacking it. These beneficial foods help nourish the mucus layer that protects your gut wall, a layer that often becomes thin and patchy after years of irritation. When the mucus layer is weak, the intestinal cells underneath become exposed and vulnerable. But when you bring in foods like leafy greens, olive oil, avocados, and resistant starches from cooled potatoes or green bananas, the gut starts producing more butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that acts like fuel for the cells lining your intestines. With butyrate, these cells strengthen, regenerate, and tighten the junctions that were once loosened by harmful plant proteins. And as the barrier tightens, fewer unwanted particles escape into the bloodstream, meaning less inflammation, fewer immune flare-ups, and far less discomfort. But your gut needs more than the right foods. It needs the right bacteria to thrive. The microbiome is like a living ecosystem inside you, and years of exposure to damaging compounds often create an imbalance where harmful bacteria flourish while beneficial bacteria struggle. So part of the strategic swap is reintroducing foods that support these beneficial strains. Fermented vegetables, cultured coconut yogurt, and polyphenol-rich berries give your gut bacteria the tools to rebuild their community. When these good bacteria return, they begin producing metabolites that reduce inflammation, strengthen the gut lining, and communicate with the immune system to calm unnecessary responses. A balanced microbiome is one of the strongest shields your gut can have. There's also the matter of timing. Your digestive system heals fastest when it's not constantly working. Introducing a daily fasting window, even something as simple as 12 to 14 hours between dinner and the next morning's meal, gives your gut the space it needs to repair microscopic damage. During this fasting window, a process called autophagy ramps up, clearing out damaged cells and allowing new ones to replace them. This is one of the most overlooked yet powerful tools for gut recovery. It's not about starving yourself. It's about giving your body a chance to do the maintenance work it rarely has time for when you eat nonstop. Equally important is avoiding substitutions that seem healthy but continue the cycle of damage. Many foods marketed as gut-friendly, gluten-free, or natural still contain additives, gums, sugars, and preservatives that irritate the gut lining. Healing requires choosing whole foods with simple ingredients that the body recognizes, not engineered blends that confuse the immune system. When you bring in clean sources of protein, high-quality fats, and plant foods low in gut-disrupting compounds, Your body finally gets the pause it needs from constant irritation. As these strategic swaps take effect, something remarkable happens. The symptoms you once believed were unrelated begin to fade. Your energy lifts, your digestion becomes calmer and more predictable, your cravings quiet down, your mood becomes steadier, your joints feel less stiff, your skin clears. This isn't coincidence. This is your gut sending signals of relief. The internal chaos begins to settle because the cause of the chaos is gone, and the nutrients needed for restoration are finally arriving. Healing the gut isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about choosing the foods that nourish rather than inflame, support rather than sabotage, restore rather than destroy. And the transformation doesn't come from doing 10 complicated things. It comes from removing one daily culprit and replacing it with a small set of intentional choices that allow the gut to repair itself the way it was designed to do. The 30-day rule is the dividing line between guessing and knowing, between hoping your gut will heal and finally giving it the environment it has been begging for. Your body is incredibly capable of repairing itself, but it cannot heal what is still hurting it every single day. That is why these 30 days are non-negotiable. For 1 month, you remove the daily gut-destroying food completely. No bites, no exceptions. No just this once moments, because even the smallest exposure keeps your immune system inflamed and your gut lining leaking. The purpose of this period isn't punishment, it's liberation. It gives your intestinal cells the uninterrupted time they need to rebuild the microscopic junctions that have slowly been pried apart by years of irritation. And the most remarkable part is that once you remove the trigger, your gut begins repairing within hours, not days, hours, but full restoration requires consistency. And that's where the 30 days matter. During this window, your immune system quiets down in ways you may not have felt in years. When the daily offender disappears, the inflammation that has been buzzing beneath the surface retreats. The immune system stops burning its energy on constantly defending you from the same invader and finally shifts into healing mode. Your mitochondria begin producing more energy. Your brain fog starts to lift. Your cravings weaken as the harmful bacteria that once fed on irritating foods begin to starve, making space for beneficial bacteria to return. These changes don't happen dramatically in one moment. They unfold gradually, almost silently, and suddenly you realize you've been living at half power without even knowing it. These 30 days also allow you to observe your body in a way most people never do. Symptoms you considered normal, afternoon crashes, random bloating, stubborn weight, irritated skin, mood dips, start to soften. They become quieter, less frequent. And as this happens, you begin to recognize how interconnected your gut is with your entire system. You start understanding that healing doesn't come from adding more and more things into your life, but from removing the one thing that has been throwing everything out of balance. You gain clarity about what your body has been trying to tell you for years, but its signals were drowned out by constant irritation. This 30-day period is like clearing static from a radio. You finally hear the message clearly. To support this process, you follow a simple structure that makes healing predictable. First, you eat foods that repair the gut lining and nurture the microbiome. You focus on polyphenol-rich plants, clean proteins, good fats, and resistant starches that feed the beneficial bacteria. Second, you create 12 to 14 hours of digestive rest each day so that your gut cells have time to regenerate. This isn't extreme fasting. This is giving your digestive system a break so it can focus on rebuilding instead of constantly working. Third, you hydrate deeply with minerals that help regulate digestion and support cellular repair. This structure is not complicated because healing has never been complicated. What sabotages healing is the daily obstacle you remove during these 30 days. As the month progresses, your body will reveal exactly how much this food was affecting you. Some people notice changes in the first week: lighter digestion, clearer thinking, better sleep. Others see shifts closer to the end of the 30 days, but the changes come. The gut lining thickens and strengthens. The microbiome rebalances and begins producing anti-inflammatory compounds. Your immune system becomes calmer and more precise. Your energy stabilizes, the constant internal fire cools. This 30-day rule becomes the proof you never had before, the evidence that your body was fighting an invisible battle created by something you were eating every single day. And when the 30 days are complete, you face a choice: reintroduce the food and observe the reaction, or leave it out because you finally understand the truth. Either way, you now have clarity. You have real data from your own body, not guesses, not theories. The 30-day rule is not a challenge or a trend. It is a reset that reveals the real state of your gut. It gives you undeniable proof that healing is possible when the daily sabotage ends. And once you feel the difference, once you experience what a calm, sealed, functioning gut actually feels like, you'll never look at that daily food the same way again.